Welcome to Beyond Business. This is the program where we look at the latest trends in the global economy. Who can you trust in the internet era? Today we're asking how safe our personal lives are on the World Wide Web. Social networking sites like Facebook and Twitter, they're growing bigger and bigger, and many of us are putting intimate details online, such as our age and our relationship status. It makes social networking sites a goldmine of information, and advertisers are among those who are keen to get their hands on that data. But some warn that governments too are eyeing it for their own purposes.
Jean Cocteau, Pablo Picasso, Josephine Baker, and even Adolf Hitler. They're on police files at the French Interior Ministry, monitored for being homosexual, foreign or political activists, and ranked alongside criminals, prostitutes and the homeless. An exhibition at the French National Archives in Paris last autumn explored French state records, showing how they grew over time to include a broad cross-section of society.
Police files at the outset were reserved to people considered potentially dangerous, or those who were dangerous, such as repeat offenders. Police identification techniques gradually developed and were used to keep track of the mentally disturbed, the homeless, tramps, and the techniques were used then to put foreign nationals on file. As time went by, the identification and police file system was used so it could keep a record of anyone in the country.
The government wants a trace of each person, and today's technology helps. Fingerprints, iris shots, and even DNA is held digitally. Biometric data has become a key part of policing since the 9/11 attacks.
The powers that be see it as a high-tech, somewhat magic response to security concerns, such as terrorism, illegal immigration, and fraud.
Each person then could be considered a potential suspect, and that's a threat to their freedom and safety. France had Jews on file in 1940.
On voit dans plusieurs départements la police.
Police forces in areas throughout France were helped in their hunt for Jews by going through the files of identity cards, looking at the identity records of French nationals and especially foreign nationals. The Vichy regime in France misappropriated the police files put together by the previous government.
Misappropriation of documents, misuse of personal data, and spying are still a concern. Today's big brother is called Facebook. Its hundreds of millions of members are part of the world's biggest personal data bank, and some people don't like that. This Austrian student, Max Schrems, asked Facebook to provide him with all the information it has on him, and he received a 1,200-page document. Some of it is data he provided, but much was put together by Facebook without his permission. He made a complaint for an attack on his privacy.
That a lot of the data was deleted data, so stuff that should already be gone. And a lot of the data was also data they are gathering in the background. For example, there is last location. So I never put in any location information, but Facebook develops out of whatever other data where you might have been the last time you logged on.
Facebook, he argues, is more thorough than state intelligence agencies.
Like if you think of it, for example, CIA or KGB never had 1,200 pages about a totally average citizen. And who would not want to have that information and have control over it? Because as soon as you have control over information, you also have control over the person itself.
A goldmine, then, of information which many are eyeing. Max Schrems says spy services approach Facebook.
And Facebook said that they get it all the time from like secret services and so on. And that's something pretty frightening, because if you think the government would get that all together, everyone would freak out. But in that case, it's a private company getting it, and the government gets it through the back door.
Facebook then could well be better informed than the secret services. When you click, you are on file.
All right, for more now on internet privacy, we can turn to Christophe Alexandre Paillard. He's a writer and researcher, as well as a senior lecturer at the political science university Sciences Po here in Paris. He's he also used to work at the National Commission for Computing and Civil Liberties, which is a data protection watchdog here in France. So welcome to the program, first of all. Now, how worried should we really be about the information that we give to social networking sites like Facebook and like Twitter?
As I saw in the report, I've got a strong feeling that people are leaving their information on the internet without being aware of what they are doing. And even if they are aware of what they are doing, they leave information of many kinds which are totally escaping any form of control. What you saw in the report was a very old time before the war, when you know, that was mainly the Home Office in Britain or the Inter Ministry in Paris, or, well, basically ministries which were collecting data as information. Nowadays it's different. You've got a lot of social networks and people are very uncautious about it.
They don't know that the risk exists, or they, as you were saying, that perhaps they don't even care?
Yes, it's a bit tricky to know if they care or not. For example, in France, we've got a lot of programs in schools, universities, and different places to tell people, and especially parents who've got children in schools, that they should prevent their children to be on Facebook before the age of 13. But strangely, they don't care. They care about the terrorism, about risk in the streets, things like that, but they don't care about what's happening in their own flat when their own children are in fact left in front of a computer.
Okay. Now, I was surprised when I heard in this report that Facebook had collected 1,200 pages of personal information about one particular individual. I suppose one question is, do they even have the right to do so?
They've got the right to do so. In fact, it's perfectly understandable in many ways.
So they're not violating any legislation?
No. People are leaving their own information about their life, their photos, where they're going on holidays, all these things. But we are forgetting something, which is the sum of, you know, the 1,200 pages about this guy. And in fact, he's forgetting something, that his network and his friends are also leaving things and prints and a lot of information on his own life. Even if you're not on Facebook, people could talk about you and your own life and leaving photos where you are, and you don't know it. So I'm not surprised.
That goes back to what you were saying before, that people don't maybe realize what kind of trace they leave behind on the internet.
Yes, exactly. And there is Facebook, but you've got a lot of other social networks. And when you have simply a connection on all these networks through Google, you are collecting, without being a spy or being a member of the secret services, a lot of information very simply on a lot of people.
We heard here in the story as well a suggestion that the government at this stage or spy agencies are eyeing the information that is available on social networking sites. Do you share that opinion? That it could be a potential gold mine for governments as well when it comes to information?
It is a gold mine anyway, because you've got a lot of technologies which can take the information from these social networks without being noticed or without asking Facebook or whatever. It could be, I don't know, Twitter or other social networks, and you don't realize it because you've got a lot of technologies which can collect, in fact, information from what we call the deep internet. And in fact, all the modern states in the world have got the technologies to do it. So it's not only the CIA or the former KGB, which is now, by the way, the FSB, which could do it. For example, in China, as you know, the central government is controlling everything on the internet, and you can in fact do whatever you want. So it's the same phenomenon in many countries in the world.
Do governments then, do they have our backs when it comes to this question? I mean, are they a friend or a foe when it comes to internet privacy?
It's difficult to say because you've got the economic crisis, which is one point, in fact. For many years, all these companies started in America. And for many years, we heard in Europe that regulation, which should apply to these companies, was the law, or basically laws in California. Now they're changing a bit because they are realizing that, in fact, it's the business model which could be threatened if private life is not protected anymore. But we've got some differences between well, on one side the United States and on the other side many European countries. But even inside the European Union, you've got a lot of different approaches which are linked to the economic situation. For example, Ireland, which is the country where you've got a lot of companies, including Facebook, you know, they are in favor of a strong limitation of control on the internet, because that's the business model of the country. In the case of France, plus a few countries, including Germany, Spain, Belgium, and a few others, we are discussing a new European regulation with the European Commission, and we would like to implement some more European regulations which could control more companies in charge of your own private life, including Google or Facebook or many others.
Does that mean then that the current rules are outdated?
Yeah, not yet. In fact, the regulation was voted by the European Parliament and the European Council about, it was in 1995, and now there's a new text which is in fact being prepared by the European Commission. A project was presented last January, and it's still being discussed by the European Commission and the member states.
Are you optimistic that that will indeed be an improvement?
Difficult to say, because technologies are also moving very quickly. If you take just one example, the cloud computing. The cloud computing, it's simply a place where you've got a lot of computers which are collecting, in fact, your data. If they are settled in countries, that's the case in Sweden, where, in fact, there is a strong protection of private life, that's fine. But if you work with, I don't know, Google, and Google, for whatever reason, is settling its cloud computing in North Korea, you can, well, it's not going to happen, I hope so, but you can imagine, you know, it's going to be completely different.
All right, a lot of complicated issues there. Thanks very much indeed, Christophe Alexandre Payard, for speaking to us today here on Beyond Business. You're watching France 24. With that, we're going to wrap up this edition. Stay with us. We've got more news coming your way here on France 24.